Hey everyone, Leo with the Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our haunted radio. I'm very excited about this one, so much so that I've been working all day, and it's actually after midnight here, and I was gonna call it a night, but started to kind of lay things out, and I couldn't wait to see this thing put together, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start by just doing some basic piecing to get some things out of the way, get some things constructed so that when we do get the structure together, we just kind of add the little finishing touches on it. So first thing we're going to do is assemble the little face of it where we have the little radio dial. And we're going to start off with, in our case, I've got a nice little silver foil here. This piece is going to get glued on top of this piece, like so. You want to try to match that up as accurately as you can. These little grates here, I want to make sure that we're not seeing any of that color behind it. So let's get this glued into place. Nice and easy with the glue here. That's okay. All right, so we do have some little details up at the top there. We got to try to get some glue around the perimeter without going too crazy. And then there's some really small little details there as well. If you want, I would suggest it. Just kind of dab your finger in those little areas just to make sure that we don't get a bunch of glue spilling everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the little grates and the center. Make sure that's flush at the bottom. And then once we have that, then we can press down at the top. Just lay that flat and get that into place. Perfect. Okay. Oh, by the way, we've included a print to cut element. If you have a Cricut, you want to use the ping file. We're gonna have a video showing you how to print this out. I found this cool little dial that we wanted to add to this. If you're using a silhouette, you could probably use the ping file too. We've also included an SVG that's double layered. And if you don't have print to cut capability, we also have a PDF file where you can just print this out. And I printed it out on a brown, like a very light brown cardstock, and I actually distressed it with a little bit of brown ink. Okay, so I highly recommend doing that just to kind of give it a nice touch. And when we put it on, you'll notice that there's this horizontal line there. You want to just kind of make sure that that is nice and horizontal. Okay, that's going to go on just like that. Okay, get that glued into place. Again, making sure that keep that nice and horizontal, making sure I'm not forgetting anything. Just like that. That just really gives it a really cool vintage feel. Okay, and that little hole in the center is where we're going to put our little radio button, because this thing is actually going to work. And we have a video showing you how to upload a series of little sounds that I personally curated for you guys. Okay, next we have this little gear. This is one of the dials. You'll notice that there's a set of little score marks in these areas here. You just want to kind of line that up with the score marks like that. Okay, and there's one on the other side as well. Just go easy on the glue here. Don't need a lot. Just match the little points there with the existing markers. Okay, we got one there. Hopefully I got the right one there. Yes, I did. There's also one additional gear, well, gear-like file that goes right on the center of the dial. So just make sure that you're using the right one here. That looks good. Okay. Then we have a little silver piece that's going to go right on top of that. You want to get that nice and centered. Okay, so just throw a little bit of glue on that. Pop that right in the center of that piece. And then we'll do one more on the other side. I just want to get all the little paper piecing stuff out of the way before we get into the bones of the project. Get that nice and centered, just like that. Perfect. All right, this guy here is going to go right in the center like that. So let's get some glue on that. Nice and easy, just a few little dots here and there. Don't need a lot. This thing's not going to go anywhere as long as you get just enough glue on there. And it doesn't matter how this goes on as long as you're not obstructing that little center hole. Okay, and then we have a little purple ring that's going to go right on top of that, matching it up with the little hole in the center. Okay. All these purple pieces, I pretty much inked everything on this project just because it's Halloween and I wanted to see everything nice and grungy. So there's the cool little face with the dial. We're done with that. We can put that off to the side. These two little pieces here, you have 4 of these. All we're going to do is just glue 2 of them together. Okay, one on top of the other. I inked 2 of them. The ones that are going to be on top are the ones that I inked. The other ones, they're just to kind of reinforce it and make it stronger. Therefore, you don't need to ink the one that's behind it. It's just a kind of a waste of time. So don't go wasting your precious time. Okay, so there's one. And you might want to put that under your mat so it dries nice and flat. Give that a nice push. And then we'll go here. Oops. I unclogged my bottle and now it is inconsistent. Okay, it's okay. Just kind of spread it around. And pop that one right on top of the other piece. Make sure it's all nice and lined up. Press that down, and like I said, pop that under your mat so it dries nice and flat. Okay, wonderful. So got that done. Now I'm going to go over here. This is one of the overlays that's going to go on the front. I've got 2 layers. Obviously, I just inked one of them. Okay, and you want to grab the one that has a series of markers on it, obviously. So let's just glue these right on top of themselves. Go easy with the glue. Make sure you get it out to the perimeter, especially down to the very edge. And if you kind of got it in a spot where you don't want it, just dab it with your finger and just get it out of there. That's fine. Okay, it's going right on top of itself. Make sure you line that up as accurately as you can. We're just doing that to make it nice and stiff because we're actually going to be, to create the illusion of dimension on this, I'm going to be using some foam squares to kind of pop dot this so that it looks cool, but it's not hard to make. Okay, so now we have this piece. And this is a nice little overlay. You'll see a series of score marks on this purple piece. In my case, it's purple anyway. And that's just to help you with the alignment. Most of these points are going to align with these little markers. So what you can do, because there's a lot of little details going on here, if you want, and I'm going to do it because I want to be as precise with this, and I also want to make sure that I keep this all glued in place. I'm just going to do half at a time. So I'll just do 1/2. And again, you know, it is also kind of, well, it's kind of flimsy. So it might be hard to do the 2 sides in one fell swoop. So I'm just going to do one side. I'm going to hold this here so it doesn't touch the paper accidentally. I'm going to align the center. And then as I work my way down, just kind of keeping an eye on those little points to make sure that it's all matching up correctly. Just like that. And I'll press that down. That looks good. Boy, the silver on the purple looks fantastic. Okay, and now you can take this part and just kind of peel it back. Don't worry about it too much. And start applying your glue to the other half of it. You can kind of hold it. Whoops. Yeah, these flimsy pieces are sometimes a little difficult to work with, but I'm going to dab this with my finger. Might help to kind of keep the bottom part of it resting on your table. Just kind of dabbing that with my finger, almost just brushing off any excess glue. And then again, just kind of follow the little score marks there. and pop that right into place. Perfect. I got a little messy up here, but that's okay. It's a Halloween project. I won't even be able to tell. Perfect, okay. Another one of those pieces that I would recommend putting under your mat to help it dry flat. Actually, we'll probably do the same with this one too. I'm gonna do that just to be safe. Okay, next, we're gonna start doing a few other things here. One of which, let's do this. Okay, so there's two pieces like this, okay? One of them is a structural piece. The structural piece, you can tell it's a structural piece because it has a tab on it. We're gonna put that off to the side. We're gonna grab the piece that does not have the tab on it, okay? So this piece, this is gonna get glued onto the structure once it's all done. And with this, what we need to find is this piece of vellum. And this is gonna cover up everything except for the skull up in this section, okay? And then on the bottom, we're gonna put this piece of vellum right here. Okay, so it's gonna go like that. Okay, so it's important here that we get this in the correct spot. What we want it to look like on the front is like this, so that the vellum's only showing through in this area here. Okay, so pop it on there just to get a visual, and we're gonna need to put some glue just around the skull and around this area here, and of course within the little detailed areas. What I like to do is just use a series of very thin and small dots, just so that the glue doesn't go splashing all over the place. Okay, and we can just kind of work our way up. It doesn't have to be perfect, as long as the majority of it is holding. That's all we need to worry about. Okay, and we do gotta kind of go quick here because this glue is gonna start drying and parts of it may not stay in place if we wait too long. We don't need to worry about putting any glue on the skulls or the skeleton's features. Okay, so just pop that into place like so. Just drop it down. It should be covering all of the little areas here that we're going to see through on the front. And let's take a look. And there we go. Okay, so that's exactly what we want it to look like. That's perfect. So we can put that off to the side. We'll come back to that later. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. We need to put this piece of vellum down too. So just a series of little dots. Just work your way around these little, I think they're just called grates. I don't really know the anatomy of radios. It's like we don't even use radios anymore. Okay, just make sure you cover up all of the little cutouts there. Okay, so now that one's done. Put that off to the side. Now we're gonna grab this piece, and this piece here, what we're gonna do, actually, you'll notice that you have a piece like this that was cut out. This is a little template. Okay, we're gonna actually just pop this in here like a little puzzle. Okay, this is gonna help us with the placement of everything. Okay, so it should just kind of stay in there. All right, so now that we've done that, we can take this guy here, and what we want to do is we want to arrange and position the vellum so that the little holes for the eyes are as centered as they can be. Okay, and to glue this down, what we're going to do is just put glue around the perimeter of the skull. Okay, so I'm just going to start, and this is on the inside of this piece, by the way. I'm on the inside. I'm going to do a few little dots on that. I'm going to go just around here, down here, like that, and then a few on his teeth. Okay, and we can take this and focus on the eyes. Make sure it's centered as you can get it, and then press that down into place. Okay, and we didn't put any glue on the little template, so should be able to pop it off. Okay, so that's good. And we actually got to put this back on because we're still going to use this template. Okay, so we need that for a second. Now what we're going to do, we've got a few more little facial features that we just need to get in place. These are the eyes, and what we're going to do is we're going to flip these over, and we're going to take this little piece of red vellum, and we're going to glue that to the back side of this little black piece. Whoa. Now you are just getting crazy, mister. I'm just going to dab that over there. Okay, and grab your little red piece of vellum. Just pop it right on there. We just want to make sure that it's right on the back of it so you're not seeing any of it from the front. Okay, just like that. We'll do the same thing with the other one. Just throw a little bit of glue on the back, just a few little dots. You don't need a lot. Okay, and just, I'm going to dab that too. Sometimes tons of glue with little pieces of vellum, just they don't cooperate. Okay, all we wanted to accomplish here is just to get that little bit of red peeking through the black. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to put glue on the back of this, trying to avoid the little cutout for the eye, and I'm just going to pop it right into the template. Okay, I don't actually know if that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work. Actually, you know what we could do is just pop this thing off, and we'll glue it down. So we'll take this thing off for a second. Put your glue on the back of this. Again, try to avoid the little hole where the light's going to shine through. Okay, and we want the orientation just like this, just like it is on the skull, like that. Okay, whoops, did I get some glue on there? I did. It's okay. Just try to center that right onto where that is. And then we'll take our template and just make sure that it matches up. And that looks good. So that's a good spot for that one. And we'll do the next one. If it's a tiny bit off, don't worry about it. Just do your best. Still gonna look cool. Okay. And again, that one's going to go right about there. Let's take our template and just give it a little nudge down, and there we go. So that's perfect. Okay, good deal. And now all that's left to do, we have these little tiny guys. It may be helpful to use a little pick-me-up tool if you have one. You can see exactly where that's going to go. Okay, so I am in fact going to use a pick-me-up tool. Just be a lot easier to hold this with my little pick-me-up tool. I'll throw a tiny little dot of glue on there and just dab that nice and thin. Wipe off your excess, and we can use the template. Just you can draw in there if you want. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to pop that in place, nice and easy. I'll grab my template and give it a little nudge, whichever direction it needs to go. Like I said, if you're a tiny bit off, it's not the end of the world. And once you get the first one in place, the second one's pretty easy because his face is symmetrical. Okay, so we'll get the second one on there, and that one is just going to go over to the right, just like that. Let's grab our template. And I'll give him a little bit of a nudge over. Okay, so our little template is done. And at this point, we can begin putting together the actual structure. I don't see why not. And again, it's made up of these 4 pieces. This is the back, this is the front, and these are the 2 sides. Okay, so what we're going to actually do is we're going to take and these two pieces here, you notice there's a fold here. These are the bottoms of the 2 sides, so it's going to be like this, and they're going to come in like that. Okay, so we need to join these 2 together. So let's start off by putting a little bit of glue on this tab here, and I'm going to spread that glue out to the edge of the tab. I'm going to put that down flat actually. Grab the other side, and you want the long side with all the little teeth. You're going to join these 2 sections together. Okay, just line that up as accurately as you can. There we go, press that down. Now while it's folded over on top of itself, and you should see that these teeth sit right on top of each other on both sides. And if they look pretty much like you can't see the one behind it, that means that you did a really good job of getting everything aligned, and that's exactly what we want. Okay, so it doesn't matter which side's the front or back. These are both identical. So what I'm going to do is start with the actual front. So we're going to grab this piece, the piece with the tab on it with just the skull. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to begin gluing these tabs right to the front of this shape. Okay, and I think it may be a good idea to actually start at the bottom, because we can be more precise with this tab here and getting these bottom pieces aligned. So I am in fact going to do that. I'm going to start by putting glue on this large tab here. Okay. This is going to kind of anchor things for us. I'm putting glue on the inside, and I'm going to spread that glue out. Oh, that's getting real tacky already. That's okay. It's probably a good thing. I'll fold that over, and I'm going to take this and align it. Get that out of the way. Just align that with the bottom and push that into the side as far as it'll go. So you could technically do this. Just get that aligned with the bottom. Okay, I need to reapply my glue here. I just kind of just figured out the most efficient way of doing this. And I'm going to spread that glue out this way. We're not going to make any mistakes. I'm going to fold this over. Okay. And I'm going to pop this right on top of that tab. Just making sure that this horizontal line matches up with the other one. Okay, and let that set. Okay, and you can see here, we got this tab glued to the face of it. I have it flipped upside down because it's a lot easier to use your surface to push this down. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of work our way up. Okay, and I think it might just be easier. Well, we have to do it from this angle here because I've got to get some glue on these little teeth. So I'm going to do a few teeth at a time. I'll just do little dots, and don't worry about getting messy on this because we're not even going to see it. Okay, so I've got glue on these dots. On these teeth, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. I'm going to fold that flat so it's flat on my table, and then I'm going to take and push this up against the edge here. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to push down to get that glued into place. Okay. So this is what it should look like now. We've got all those tabs beautifully glued down, and you'll notice that as we get to the top, that point should match perfectly up at the top. Okay, so we're at a point now where I think I can probably do the rest of these tabs, and all it takes is just one little dot of glue. You don't need to cake it here. Just go easy with the glue here. Tuck them in so that they're flat on your surface. Bring it in all the way. Whoops. Again, don't worry about blemishing the surface here. Now I'm pushing down from the inside as I'm pushing this way up against the curve of this shape. Okay, just like that. And you can see how nice that looks. And of course, it matches up perfectly right up at the top. So now what we're going to do is we can begin putting glue on these tabs, and I'm just going to do a few at a time, maybe like 7 or 8 at a time. Okay, then we can take that, tuck that under, tuck all those tabs under. Make sure you're pushing up against this, up against the inside here, against this structure as far as it'll go, and then I'm pushing down with my finger to help that tab stick to the face of our little radio. Okay, and then that's what it should look like. And you can see that that worked perfectly. Okay, so now this, oh, I probably didn't wait long enough for those tabs to dry. That's okay. I'll pull those back, and I'm gonna have to reapply 3 of them because I kind of jumped the gun there. But I'm just gonna go ahead and do the rest of them. Okay, so tuck those under, right underneath, and start pushing down. Make sure you got everything up against this structure here, pushing up against this structure as far as it'll go, and then press down along that edge to help those tabs get a nice grip, and that's what it should look like. Again, don't worry about this. Even if it's blemished, not a big deal. And then you can see here that once we get to this point, these horizontal lines should be pretty much exactly matched up. If you're a smidge off, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Okay, then we just need a little line of glue, and we can tuck that underneath, push it up against this frame, the structure, and press down to get that to stick. There we go. Okay, so that's what it should look like. There's our face. Wonderful. And let's take a look and see. Yeah, the tabs are pretty spot on. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so now what we want to do, we're going to take the back, and you know this is the structural back because we have a tab there. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick this in here just like we did the first time. And we're just going to glue this down like so. And with this one here, we could technically start at the top if you want to. It can show you that it can be done both ways. So why don't we do that? I'm going to grab just these first 2 tabs so I can anchor it. Just do that, like so. Okay. We'll pop that in. Well, now, there's a point on this. Make sure that that point is going as far as it can, and it's nice and centered, and then just press that tab down onto that structure. So it's totally feasible to do it this way, and just press and hold those 2 tabs together, or push them down up against this surface. There we go. Okay. So that's anchored now. And now we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be a little bit harder for me to actually show you this because, well, it's not going to be very visible. But we're going to work our way down this way. So I'm going to put some glue on this tab, a few tabs, maybe like 6 tabs. We'll fold them over. You could technically do it this way, where you just kind of glue 1 tab at a time. You want to make sure that you're pushing it up against this structure here as far as it'll go while you're holding it in place. But I do think the table method is quicker and actually more accurate. So, but I'm just going to show you that it can be done this way too. But you notice what's happening here. Since I'm doing it this way, this thing's wiggling and jiggling, and I'm kind of bending the paper. I may accidentally crease it. So time and time again, I'll tell you that whenever possible, I like to use my table as a tool. Okay, so I did get those down. So I'm going to continue down here, just putting a few dots on each of these tabs, pushing this in as far as it'll go up against this structure on this side. You got to be patient and make sure that everything sets before you move on. There we go. There we go. And I think the last small one is here. I'm going to put some more glue on that one. There we go. As far as it'll go. Just pushing it up against this structure and then pressing down with my fingers. There we go. Okay. And then you can see we got this last long tab, and this horizontal line meets up with this horizontal line perfectly. So I'm very happy with how this is coming along right now. Okay, so there's the last one. Fold that over right on top. Make sure it's completely as far as it'll go up against this structure, and press down. because otherwise you're going to end up with a wonky looking radio. There we go. Okay, I can push down from the inside too. And there we go. So that just leaves this side now. And I guess one thing we could do here is we could glue this down. I'm going to start from the top though. Just going to do the same method I did. It's easier for you guys to see, and I think because you really can't get your hand in there and you can't really see anything, this is the better method this time around. So again, I'm pushing down up against this surface as far as I can while pushing the tab in place. I've got a finger under here. I've got one finger behind this, right where I'm pushing down on the tab, so I can kind of push them together. You can see this middle finger here is pushing up against my thumb, but from the inside. Getting that as far as it'll go. Make sure your tabs are on the outside. There we go. And I may need to reapply my glue on a couple of these. As far as it'll go. Okay, looking good. I've got one tab there that I didn't press down. I was starting to get worried that I'm running out of time with the glue before it sets, but it looks like it was okay. Maybe a little too much glue there. Just kind of hit that with my finger, thin it out, and just continue on down the line here. Once we get this structure in place, the rest of it's smooth sailing. So this structure here, the corner or the edge right here, we're literally trying to get it right up against the inside of where that score mark is on the tooth. Okay. There we go. And really push up against this surface to make sure that it's really hugging that turn there and that curve. You don't want it sticking out. You want it to be as flush up against it as possible. Oops, I might need to reapply glue on that one. Oh, maybe not. Okay, pushing that up against that surface. There we go. And you can see it meets, these two horizontal lines meet perfectly. So great engineering by our wonderful Diana, getting that to fit perfectly. So this time for this, I'm gonna actually just fold this over. Okay, I'm gonna try to illustrate this. Folding it over, tucking it under. It's going underneath the face, and then pushing from the outside, pushing it up against that surface as far as I can, because it's gonna stop it. And then pressing down with my finger to help that tab make contact there. And I'm just gonna give that a little extra love right there. It looks like I didn't get enough glue right at the very end, so I'm just gonna take a scrap piece of paper and just paint a little extra glue right there. Get in there. I need a little more. There we go. Okay. And just press that into place. Again, don't worry about blemishing it right now. This is all going to be covered up. This is literally the skeleton of our radio. Okay, let's take a look at the overall shape. I'd say we did a fine job. Okay, so let's get the bottom on this thing to make it nice and stable. We're going to find these pieces here. One of them has a little L on it, L for liner. You can put that off to the side for a second. This is the piece we're interested in. We're going to glue it to one tab for now, just to anchor it, and then we're going to close this up so it's not so flimsy and jiggly. Okay, so let's get some glue on this tab here. And again, there's still room for sloppiness because we didn't put the face of this thing on yet, which is great. I'll spread that out, the very edge, just like that. Again, grab the piece that does not have the L on it. Bring this tab up a little bit and line that up nice and center, right up to the very edge. There we go, it's a little off there. easier to hold it like this. This thing is definitely kind of awkward shaped. That's okay. Everyone, you guys love a challenge. It's been a while since we've done something like this. I'm going to put this down flat on my surface and press down on the rest of the tab so it's making contact throughout. Okay. Take a look at that seam. Should be nice and clean, and it is. Okay. So now we can put glue on the remaining 3 tabs so we can close up the bottom. And that's going to make it nice and sturdy now, or at least, maybe not sturdy, but at least we'll keep it from being all flimsy, which is what we want. Okay, let's spread that glue out to the very edges. Okay, and we're going to take and bring down the piece that's already anchored, this guy here, and focus on getting it lined up with this side. Okay, so bring that down, get it nice and centered. There we go. And then if you need to kind of nudge the walls in on the left and right side, totally normal. Make sure everything's making good contact. Give it a quick flip. Press on the tabs from the inside to help the rest of that surface area make contact. Okay, and we'll take a look at it, make sure everything is lining up nicely. And if there are any gaps, I've got a little bit of a gap in the back. Grab a scrap. Got a little bit of a gap in the back. Grab a scrap and just tuck some glue right in there. And then you can just press and hold that in place. You can press here as well. I was using my table. Like I said, I try to use the table wherever possible. And there, it looks like a little gap there too. You can literally put glue on the very tip or the very edge of your scrap piece of paper. If there's not a lot of room to get in there, you can just get the little tip in there. Okay. And again, still got room to blemish things a little bit. That time will be over soon though. Okay, take a look everywhere else. I've got a little gap there that I want to fix. Just grab a scrap, throw some glue on there, just tuck it in between these 2 layers. Just paint a little glue on there. Okay, and press that up against the surface. Beautiful. Give that a few seconds. That looks great. Ooh, that's a big gap. Let me fix that up real quick. This is totally a normal part of doing this. It happens. There's absolutely, rarely do I get glue exactly where I want it every single time. It's a rare occurrence. Okay, we'll just press that down. And that looks good. Okay, all right, so now this piece here with the little L on it, it's a liner, that's a structural thing. We're gonna put some glue on the base of this on the inside. I'll show you here in a second. It's gonna be hard to show you while I'm doing it. It doesn't have to be pretty. Just throw some in there. This is gonna go right inside and then just pop that right in there and press it down flat. Again, that's to help with the structure. It's gonna make it nice and solid for us. Okay, so now, getting very close here actually, believe it or not. Okay, so now we can put the face and the back on. So remember, this is our face, and that's gonna go on just like this, okay? And we just wanna match that up with the top, and that came out perfect. Okay, and it should be flush with the bottom. So keep in mind here that don't wanna put any glue on the vellum. You wanna stay away from the vellum parts. You wanna put glue all the way around the perimeter, as well as some glue on the black portions here. If you get glue on these spots here, it is going to show through, which you don't want. Okay, so, and especially down here as well. So I'm going to start at the bottom, staying away from those little cutouts where the grates are, and work my way up to the top, like so. Again, stay away from the cutouts. Might help to kind of angle it so that you can get some light shining through there to help purposefully, oops, look at, I did exactly what I told you not to do. I got some glue on a section there where there was a cutout. I want to get a little bit of glue in these areas here so that everything's got a little bit of a hold. Now the perimeter is already starting to dry, so we got to act quick. Okay, and you don't need to get glue on every single inch of this. We can always go in and kind of clean things up a little bit. Let's just get it in place. Okay, kind of looking at little hole where our radio button is going to be, and then also looking at the skeleton, making sure all those pieces line up. And don't worry too much about the facial features right now. If you worked on the what was it called? The skeleton basket, you saw that for those little areas, we just dabbed a little bit of glue on there, and that is perfect. I'll show you here in a second. I'm just making sure that everything is lining up, everything's nice and flush all the way around. If you have any gaps, just clean them up, because it is a lot of surface area to cover. Just throwing a little bit of glue on a scrap piece of paper, you can see a little gap there. Just going to paint a little bit of glue right on the underside of this section, and then just press and hold that down. So everything looks nice and flush. That looks good there. I've got a little bit of a gap there. We don't like that. We'll clean that up. Perfect. And hold that down. Okay, there we go. Bottom looks great. So now the little pieces here where we have the little crack in his skull, I'm gonna grab a fresh little scrap piece and throw a little bit of glue on there, very thin, nice and thin. We could have tried to put some glue on that, but I think that would have probably ended up in a disaster. So literally gonna pop that right in between those two layers and just press up against it, just like so. And then we can push that down right onto the surface. Hold that for just a few seconds, let it set. And there we go. Okay. Now the only other thing, excuse me, that we need to add a little bit of glue to is the little teeth area. So I've got my scrap. I'm going to actually lift this up from the bottom, create a little separation, and then just drop it right onto the glue, pull it out, and then just press that down. Should be plenty of glue on there to hold that in place. Just like that. Okay. Looking good, looking sharp. And let's see, what's next here? We can actually put the back on. Let's see, what else can we do on the front just to make this thing almost come to life? Yeah, you know what? Let's find our dial. Let's grab our dial and put that in place. So here's our dial. You can see exactly where that's going to go. It's going to go right on there. Okay, I'm just going to be kind of building this thing up slowly but surely. And you can see the little round sections here. And most importantly, obviously, you have the little center where we're going to put our little button. Okay, so let's get some glue on this guy here. Still need to put the back on. It's not a problem. I guess there's no right, well, in some cases. In this case, for this project, I don't think there's a right or wrong way as far as the order in which you should put things down, especially towards the end here. Okay, so let's line that up with the grate and the little center hole. Press that down. Make sure it's somewhat in position, then you can flip it over, and so we don't bend it or warp it or destroy it. You can push down from the inside. Again, making sure that that's nice and flush on the bottom. Okay, there we go. Getting there, getting there. Okay, so let's finish up the back here. All right, so we're gonna put the back on here, okay? And what I wanna do is I wanna actually put glue on the structure itself. I just think it's easier. I'm gonna do a nice line of glue around the perimeter, kind of thick. Don't want to cake it, but you definitely want to go a little bit thicker because I need to spread that out to the very edge. Okay, and then we can do some glue here, and here, and up here. I'm going to stay away from this little nub. Spread that glue out. The very edges, guaranteed. We're probably going to need to do some cleanup here as far as making sure everything is nice and flush around the perimeter, and that's expected. We got a lot of surface area, and we're going to pop this right on there. Should be flush on the bottom, flush with the sides, and especially here, this little cutout for the door, that should be nice and lined up as well. Just run your fingers along the perimeter. That's probably the most important thing for starters. Okay, focus on that. And also here, you can kind of press around here. Ideally, technically what I really wanted to do there was at least anchor it and get it aligned accurately, because I know that I'm not gonna get that to glue down perfectly, but at this point I'm just kind of checking the sides, and obviously I've got a gap here. So with my scrap piece of paper, just painting a little extra glue there, and then I'll just give that little section a little TLC. Hold that down for just a moment, let it set. Perfect seam. This side needs a lot of love. I'm gonna go kind of heavy with the glue here, and just tuck it in between these two layers and just paint that glue right on there. There we go. Rub off the excess before we start pushing down, and just start making contact. There we go. Looks good. Okay, everything looks nice and flush. Very happy with that. And now this little area here, that I actually did pretty good on as well. But if you didn't, you just take your scrap and just paint a little bit of glue right under there, and just press that down. And there we go. Okay, great. So now, one thing we can actually do right now, just to kind of keep this thing closed, is grab our Velcro dots, and I'm going to grab these Velcro dots. I'm going to I've got both of them here. There's two sides. Okay, so you'll see what I mean. Put it right there. We'll pop it right against that. And then when we pull it off, well, that didn't work. It's supposed to grab the paper. There it goes. Okay, so I have it together, glued it on this side first, pressed it up against this section here, and now you can see that your little door is operational. Okay, so let's throw our panel on next. This panel is going to go on like this. We're going to have an even border around the outside as well as the inside here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's get our glue going on this panel. It's kind of flimsy, so it might help to just kind of keep it steady and stable on your table. Work that glue around the perimeter especially. There we go. Grab it however feels most comfortable. And I'm kind of looking down here to look at the border Make sure it's accurate. Now I'm looking at where the little handle is, the center, and that looks pretty spot on. Give it a little nudge over to the right and just kind of run my finger along the perimeter, make sure everything's making good contact. I can open this up, fold it back, and push from the inside too to help the rest of that make better contact as well. There we go. Okay, I can already feel that it's starting to feel sturdier because of all the layers we're adding. So now this guy here is going to go right on the back, just like so, and that's going to help make that sturdier as well and pretty it up. Nothing wrong with a little purple. Just trying to make sure I get enough glue around the perimeter. And again, if it's not perfect, you can always go in and clean it up, add glue in any area that, almost any area that we need some extra glue on. Okay, just working the perimeter. There we go. Nice and sturdy now. Close it up. And there we go. Okay, so we are getting there. Okay, so we're left with a few pieces here. And these are little dimensional pieces to add a little bit of dimension to our radio. We have a piece that looks like this. It's like a T shape with one little tab, and there's another piece that looks exactly like it. We're going to put those off to the side. We have 4 boxes that we need to construct. It's pretty straightforward. All we need to do is we have a small tab. We got 2 of these long ones. We're going to put the long ones together first. There's a small tab here. We're going to start with that. Just put a little bit of glue on that tab and spread that out. This is all going to be covered up with that little T-shaped piece that I was just talking about. And we can actually, just to get this tab in place, we can actually do this flat. So let's just line it up first. Get it lined up as accurately as possible, and you can actually flatten it out. And that's going to help you actually make this more accurate. Get that tab out of there so it's not in the way of our folding. It's kind of a tight little spot. I'm just going to use a little scissor to pull out the tab. There we go. And I've got another tab here. And just press that down flat. Okay. There we go. And just keep holding that. And that's going to essentially shape the box for us. We can flatten it out now by giving it a squeeze. You can see what we have there. And then we're going to take these little tabs here, fold them in. There's 3 of them right here. And then we're going to put some glue on the 3 tabs. Nice and easy. Don't need a lot. And I'm going to spread that glue out so that it's on top of every little inch of that box. And then take the little top and pop it right on top of those 3 tabs to close it up. Okay, so just hold that in place. And if you want, you can actually put that down on your surface. And if you can find, if you have a dowel that's skinny enough, you can actually push from the inside, just at least to get that one side nice and tight. And then we'll do the same thing on the other end. Flip those tabs down. Throw a little bit of glue on the tabs, spread that glue out, and then go ahead and close it up and press and hold. If you want, you can actually just let your table do all the work. Just make sure that it's properly aligned and just hold that. Be patient while it sets. Okay, so we've got this little dimensional piece. We're gonna do the same thing with this one, and then this is basically the same thing, just a little bit smaller, so not a big deal. Okay, so that one looks like it is ready to go. We'll put that off to the side. We'll do the same thing here. Again, there's a long piece and then there's a short tab. So make sure you're putting the glue on the tab and not on the long piece. And then spread that glue out. Okay, and then grab the other side, pop it right on top there, line it up as accurately as you can, and then you can literally just take it and smush it down flat. Just make sure those tabs are pointing out so they're not getting in the way of this press here. Okay, there we go. You can form it now. Move the little lid out of the way, push the tabs down, and apply your glue to the 3 tabs. Spread that out nice and thin. Perfect, and close it up. Make sure it's nice and centered, nice and aligned. Hold that in place for just a few moments. Kind of drop it down onto the table now, grab my dowel and push on it from the inside. Really help those sections bond. Okay, and then we've got the other end, 3 more tabs. There we go. Spread that glue out. Perfect, and close it up. Make sure it's nice and centered, and just hold. Okay. Boy, we are really getting close here. And then I'm going to grab these pieces, get them out from underneath my mat. We're going to be applying those here shortly. There we go. Okay, so I've got these 2 pieces now onto this one here. And you'll notice pretty much the same thing. There's one side that's a little bit shorter. That is our tab. So that is where we're going to be applying our glue. Just like that. We'll spread that glue out. Okay. Grab the other end, pop it right on top. Just make sure these tabs are flared out so they don't get in the way. Pop it right on top of that tab. And just like we did with the last one, you can actually take it and fold it flat while you press down. And that will make sure that it's exactly where it needs to be. Okay, and you can kind of shape it now by just squeezing on the 2 sides. We'll flip the tabs down, apply a few drops of glue, spread it and thin it out, and then close it up. Just take that little, it's basically like a little lid, pop it right on top, make sure the box is nice and straight. Hold that for just a second, let that glue get tacky and grip it, and then you can put it down on your surface, open it up, and pop your dowel in there. Push down on the rest of it. And then 3 more tabs, push those in, glue, and we'll close the lid like so, and close it up. Just pop that right on top, make sure it's aligned and centered, and press and hold. There we go. And just be patient while that sets. There we go. Okay, put that off to the side, and the last one, flare those tabs out, and we're putting glue on the little tab, just like that. And we're putting glue on the little tab, spread that glue out to the very edge, grab the other side, pop it right on top, and then you can flatten it out and press down. Got little bits of glue all over me. Okay, give that a few seconds. Okay, and then shape it by just giving it a squeeze. Let's move that lid out of the way. Get some glue on those 3 little tabs. Spread that glue out nice and even, and close the little lid. And press and hold that down for just a few moments while that glue starts to set and get tacky. We can put it down on our surface and just pop our dowel in there. Push down. And then grab the remaining 3 tabs. Throw a little glue on there. And there we go. And we'll close it up. And just hold that for just a few moments. Okay, so now what we're going to do is using this little piece here, this is going to cover all of it to make it look nice and seamless. Okay, and essentially this is going to go in here like that, and then the other one's going to go in here, and it's going to be just a little dimensional piece. And we're going to put that on our little radio here in just a moment. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to glue these two pieces together to form kind of like a little L shape. And I'm going to accomplish that by putting some glue on this end of the long piece, like that. And we'll thin that out and just grab this piece and just use your table, use your surface, and just push that piece up against it, making sure it's nice and flush and centered. Okay, so it should be flush at the top, flush at the bottom, and right on the surface. And we're just kind of trying to bond these two pieces together. I'm kind of using my fingers here to feel and make sure that this surface here and here is nice and flush. And it is. Whoops. I'm going to be careful to not move it too much after you get it in place. So let's try that one more time here. Just keep it on your surface. That's your best bet. And then, of course, just make sure that it's flush like that. Just taking a look at it. There we go. That looks good. So we'll leave that like that. You can see how it's set up like that. We'll put that off to the side and let that dry. And we'll do the same thing with this one. Just throw a little glue on one of the ends. Spread that glue around. Take this piece and just press it up against the side, making sure it's nice and flush with the two sides. And it should already be flush with the bottom because we used our table to help with the alignment. Okay, so we've got two of those. We're going to let that set. And then we just need to kind of wrap it with this. So I'm going to go back to this one since this one's probably a little bit more dry. So we're going to pop this right in here and just glue this to the inside. And that's just going to make it look nice and seamless. So what I'm going to do first actually is I'm going to put glue in here, nice and easy, don't need a lot. Go all the way down. We'll put this right in here. Make sure it's flush with both ends. You can feel it. Kind of putting my finger here, I can feel that it's nice and flush, as well as here. Okay, just hold that down for just a moment. Okay, so it's in there now. Looking good. We can peel back one of these sides and we'll apply glue to this little L shape. Nice and easy. Okay, and you can definitely put this down flat on your surface and just fold this over right on top of that piece and press and hold that down. That looks good. And we can peel this back and we'll put a little bit of glue on this other L. Okay, and then you can fold that over right on top and right here. And just continue to hold that, making sure that everything bonds nicely. Looks good. And then of course we have this last little piece. Just make sure that you get that glue all the way out to the edges and we can close that up. And just press and hold that down and let it set. And now we have a nice little dimensional piece that is nice and sturdy. An interesting way to create dimension without having to go crazy here. Okay. All right, so that one's done. We're going to do the same thing here with this guy. So it's going to go in like this. We're going to just kind of put it flat. So here's the T shape. And I can kind of fold it in a little bit just so we can see it better. We'll throw a little bit of glue right on the flat part. Pop this right in there. And make sure it's flush with both ends. Whoops. That looks good. Other side looks good. Just press that into place, give it a few moments. Okay. And then go over here on this side, pull that little L shape out. And let's put a little glue on there. You can put that down flat and then press that down up against the side of the long piece as well as the little L shape. There we go. Just run your fingers along that piece. I don't think we've ever done anything like this before, so this is brand new for me too. Okay, we'll flare this out now and get the other L up here too. Don't forget about that little spot. Put that down flat and go ahead and push that down onto the structural surface. And just hold that in place. Okay, perfect. And then finally, just wrap it up by closing up the front. Make sure we get that glue out to the very edge. Okay, and just fold that over right on top of that section there. And just hold that for a few moments. There we go. Looking good. Okay, so now what we need to do, you'll notice that on the face of this thing here, we have a series of score marks, okay? This little guy is gonna go right here, not yet though, and then just above that, I'm gonna find the one, I'll find this one here. So we've got two of these. I guess technically you can use either one. What I'm looking for is, which side has the, I guess it doesn't really matter. You can use either one. Find the one that looks the best for the side that you're putting it on. And this is gonna go right here. There's a series of, there's two little score marks here. Okay, and this is gonna go right underneath the score mark. So you wanna, well, pretty much right on the score mark. So the top of this is gonna line up with the score marks there. And we should have, well, you've got this horizontal one here as well. So it's gonna go right there. We're gonna line that up horizontally on the side and then also right here on the front. Okay, so we're gonna make it look like that. That's how we wanna glue it down, like that. Okay, it's like a little trim piece. So to do that, we're gonna apply glue to this surface as well as this surface. Okay, just go easy on the glue here. I'm gonna kind of spread that out. Make sure I get it out to the very ends. Okay, I'm gonna put this down like this, just to make it easier to kind of see what I'm doing. And line it up with the little score mark as well as the score mark on the side. And hold that in place while it sets. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same thing with this other piece. Again, remember to keep the top part of it below the score marks because this is gonna go right here and it needs to be almost touching that piece, okay? So again, let's go ahead and apply our glue to this surface here. You can go a little bit heavier with the glue on this. That's totally fine. And throw a little bit of glue on there. Just make sure we get it out to the edge. Like that. Okay. And again, move that out of the way. Kind of doing it from this angle here. Popping it right into place in the front. And then taking a look at my alignment on the sides as well. Get it nice and aligned with that score mark. That's kind of hard to see. Now the back of this is kind of sticking up a little bit, so I'm just going to paint a little extra glue right on the back of it and just press and hold that area down. This is, like I said, take your time with this section here. No need to rush this. We're literally on the last leg of this assembly, And we may as well just take our time and get it right. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is we're going to put the panels on the sides. This is going to really start to make it look nice and finished. Okay, so this panel here is going to go on the side. Obviously, we want a nice even border all the way around. So let's get that in place. And this is kind of, we're just really just putting the finishing touches on it now. I think the hard part's over. Not that it was hard, it's actually kind of fun. I haven't really done anything like this ever. Okay, so that's going to go on just like that. Press that down into place. There we go. Let's do the other side. Those sections should be pretty dry at this point. Okay. Just like that. And again, try to maintain a nice even border on all four sides. Press that down into place. Now we need to put these large panels in place here. And again, this one also is going to have an even border all the way around. What I would do is actually, I think we can just do the whole thing. Go easy on the glue here. We don't need a lot, but we do want to make sure that we get glue out to the bottom and top. And I'm going to spread that glue all the way out to the very edge, like so. And again, nice even border. And then just very gently bring that down. Make sure it's nice and straight. And work your way from the top to the bottom. Just kind of running your finger along the entire structure, making sure that it's making good contact throughout. We don't want any gaps. You can always fix the gaps, but we're going to try not to leave any gaps. And just kind of hold the top and bottom. Those are probably the most important. Okay, there we go. And I did pretty good, I think. I've got one little area here where I'm noticing a tiny gap. Part of that is because of the embossing. So I'm not overly concerned about it, but I am going to try to bring that down a little bit. So just a little bit of glue on a scrap piece of paper. Just paint a little bit in that little area. And just give that a gentle press and hold for just a few moments. And there we go. That's much better, actually. Kind of got rid of that little gap there. Okay, awesome. Check that out. It's starting to come together now. And finally, the last one here. Same thing. Just going to glue it from here on down. Try to maintain an even border throughout. And don't forget to ensure that you've got glue going all the way out to the edge of the top and bottom. So maybe just a quick little extra line of glue at the bottom and top, like so. And again, I'm using the other one as kind of a guide as far as the alignment and the distance from the peak of my radio here, just to keep it consistent. And then just work your way down nice and easy, like so. And hopefully I didn't wait too long. I can kind of tell that glue is starting to get a little tacky. And just hold the top and bottom. Run your fingers along the sides. Nice and easy. Okay. And check it for gaps. I did a lot better on that one, actually. And there we have it. Okay, so, well, look at that. Now it's time to put this piece in place. We're actually going to use some foam squares on this. Okay, so let's flip this over. And if you have large ones, I'd recommend using those. I think I might be out. Nope, I'm not. But I'm out of my large black ones. Oh, no, I'm not completely. I've got a few here. And I'm not. I've got a couple more here, actually. This is great. If you have black foam squares, I definitely recommend using those because then you won't really see them from the sides as much because a lot of them have like a white core. Okay, and I think I can probably get away with, let me do a little push test here. You know what, I want this thing to really be strong, so I'm just gonna add some more here. I don't want it to be flimsy. I'm gonna splurge a little bit on this Halloween project. There we go. You could probably get away with using probably half the amount that I just did, but I want this thing to be rocking. Okay. There we go. And that's just going to go right on the front. We want that to be pretty much flush with those two little structures that we just created. And it is going to be a little bit wider than the actual structure, but that's okay. That's great because it's going to kind of hide any little imperfections that we may have. Okay, so next, these little pieces here, these bottom pieces, I don't want to put these on just yet. We're going to put those on after we get the base on because I don't want to risk messing them up. Now, this is the part in the video where if you purchased your little sound module, we're going to go ahead and install that. And I mean, it's pretty straightforward. This is the sound module, okay? And I'll turn it on here. I do have a video that shows you how to upload the little songs that we created for you guys. Okay, so the cool thing about this is it comes on a sticker. Everything is all together. Okay, now one thing you do want to keep in mind is that this is a rechargeable battery, and this is the port right here where you'll need to actually plug in the little cable that comes with it to charge it. So I personally would have this facing up, and the perfect spot to put this, in my opinion, is right on the side so it does not obstruct the light that we're going to put in here. Okay, and you can literally just press that down onto the side, okay, and you won't even see it. So you can see how I've got it in there. I probably could have gotten that on a little more straight because it just kind of fell in there. And then what we're going to do, this cable is just perfectly long enough. And what we're going to do is I'm going to actually take and put some hot glue around the button, and we're going to hot glue it right here so that this button is visible. Like I said, we're going to put hot glue around the button. Make sure you do not hot glue the actual button. Okay. So let's get that ready to go. I've got hot glue all over me. Jeez-a-loo. Okay, pull this out. And I'm literally just going to put 4 drops of hot glue right around the perimeter. Do not hot glue the button itself. You can actually just go all the way around it. Okay, and then very quickly take it and pop it right onto that hole. Whoops. Where are you, buddy? There you are. Just position that right in the center and press that in really well. Okay, so again, depending on the thickness of the paper that you selected, I tested this with just the rhinestone in there and it worked, but if you want, what you can do is just just cut out a series of little circles and just kind of glue them together, one on top of the other, to add some thickness to each little circle. And then we'll glue it to the back of the rhinestone to kind of help it stick out even more. Okay, so again, this isn't, there's only so much we can do as far as the design and integrating it with this electronic components, because everyone's got different tools, different papers, things like that. I've got, right now I have about four 4 thicknesses of little circles. I'm going to do one more just for good measure. Okay, and then I'm going to take this, I'm actually going to glue this to the back of my rhinestone. So it's just a sandwich of little circles. I'm going to glue that to the rhinestone, and that's basically doubled its thickness. You know what, I might actually do one more. So again, I can't tell you exactly how many of these. Technically, you probably shouldn't need any, depending on the paper that you're using, but I would probably just do a couple. And you just want to cut a circle that is a little bit smaller than your rhinestone, and just pop that right on the back of the rhinestone. Let that set. Okay. And then you can actually hot glue this, I think. I think that would probably work better. Let me turn this thing on. We'll hot glue the button in place, and then we'll give it a little test drive. Obviously, you want to make sure that the actual rhinestone fits in there. Okay, that's looking good so far. And before I glue it down, I just want to get a kind of feel for, oh yeah, that's nice and exposed, so that should work nicely. And we'll just throw, actually, you know what, I'm going to put the hot glue right on the button. Just a tiny little drop of hot glue right on there. Get that swirly out of there and pop that right in place, like so. I also painted that button red just so that it kind of hides better. And there we go. Okay, so you can see how it's a little more elevated now. And let me turn it on. Hit it in the off position. And voila. Okay. So that's ready to go. And all that's really left to do is just make the base for this thing. Whoops, and then, oh no, I got hot glue on my little grate thing. Let me clean that off. Oh, phew, okay. All right, so here's the little base, and I'm gonna fold this flap away, and we're gonna take and glue. I'm gonna add some glue to the first tab here, and thin that out. Okay, and we'll take this side, bring it up, and press it against that tab, and press and hold for just a moment, let it set. There we go. Now we can go over to this tab and bring that glue out to the very edge. We'll tuck that in behind this wall here and press and hold. Give that a few seconds. There we go, beautiful. And then we'll work our way over to this tab. Let's move this out of the way for just a second. And there we go. And bring that up, line it up nicely, and press and hold. And the last one here, got one more tab to go. There we go. Tuck that in, line it up, and press and hold. There we go. Give that a few seconds. Okay, now we can take and fold these tabs down, and we're going to close this up now. Go ahead and apply your glue to the tabs here. It's okay if you go a little bit heavier here. We've got a lot of real estate to cover. Oops. Getting a little sloppy here. There we go, perfect, okay. And then we'll close this up, focus on getting it aligned with the opposite side of where it's already hinged. Get that nice and centered all the way out to the edge. If you need to kind of nudge the wall in a little bit, that's okay. And then go ahead and do the same thing with the sides and start pressing down. This is going to be the bottom, so no one's really going to see it, but we still want to make it look as nice as possible. And keep pressing down. There we go. And that looks perfect. Okay, so that's going to be our top. Now we also have this little decorative piece. Okay, and this is going to go like this on the face of our base. Okay, so I'm going to go with this side. Oh, you can actually see that there are a series of little markers here to help you with centering of this piece here. So let's use that to our advantage. And I'm just going to do little lines and tiny little dots of glue. You don't need a lot for this. If you happen to get a ton of glue on this, just thin it out with your fingers. Okay, remember this is going this way. And find, I'm going to kind of hold it from these two sections here. And just drop that right into place. I'm going to start with the center and just work my way out. Same with this. And as long as it's got somewhat of a grip, if you've got any little areas that are kind of not sticking, you can always paint a little bit of glue underneath there. Okay, so there's our base with a nice front. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put this on here centered so we have a nice even border all the way around. So let's get our glue going. It's okay if we go a little bit heavier here because we're trying to join these two sections together. Okay, and I do want to get that glue out to the very edge of the radio. Just keep it on the surface, try not to get it on the face or there we go. Okay, and again, nice and centered on the base, even border all the way around, like so. And just press and hold that for a few moments while it sets. And there we go. Okay, don't rush this part. I'd kind of keep applying a downward pressure. Okay, so with these pieces here, we're going to use some foam squares to adhere this to to the actual radio. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut these in half. These are 1/4 inch, and I think they're just a tad too big, but you can slice these in half with just a standard pair of scissors. And I think I'm going to do 4 of them. Okay, so we'll take and I'm going to put maybe 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. I don't think we really need anything in the center. Okay. There we go, just like that. And my other 4 are right here. I'll put 1 there. Another 1 there. Doesn't have to be perfect. No one's really going to see this side of it. There we go. Okay. Take a look at that. Okay, so let's peel off the backing on these little foam squares. And get that nice and centered. Make sure it's flush with the left side. There we go. And there she is, beautiful. Let's give that another test. And don't forget to pop a light in here as well. And how cool is that? Okay, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you head over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button while you're there. Hit the little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new project, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the almost 40,000 dreamers that inspire us daily. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you see here at the bottom of your screen. So that's going to do it for this one. Happy hauntings, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.